Hello and welcome back to the Patchy Productions podcast, which still exists actually after over almost a year of no. Um,
Surprise, man!
yeah,
So that week-long sabbatical we took turned out pretty well.
yep, exactly, and now we're back and better than ever. And obviously, I'm your host Patrick, and this is your not host Sean.
I'm my name's Productions. This is Patrick.
I don't think we've actually changed at all over the course of this year. It'll probably sound exactly the same.
Less depressed in some areas, more so in others.
Fair
Just a nice
enough.
a mix-up.
So this is going to be a rather short podcast, unfortunately, but this is just more of a get back into it type of thing. Hopefully, we can return to doing this at some sort of schedule, probably not weekly. But
Yeah, we don't really have concrete schedules anymore like we used to. Ironically enough, freeing up our schedules made them more chaotic and less coordinatable.
but we definitely do have more free time on our hands, which is good enough. Just not enough free time to spend together. Talking on Skype, rather.
Adulting sucks.
It does. So, when looking for a topic for this thing, I figured we both enjoy Star Wars, and I figured we could just talk about Star Wars for as long as this podcast goes, be it 20 minutes or 30 minutes.
Yeah, I've seen Star Wars once or twice.
Once or twice.
By that I mean I think we've both seen every movie at least 100 times once or twice.
um, so I found a YouTube channel. It's a Star Wars channel, and he did a thing where for 30 days he would answer like a Star Wars question in a short minute long video once a day for 30 days, and I think I'll post the channel in the description. But a lot of them are pretty interesting questions, so I think we're just going to kind of go over a few of them and just um, discuss them and discuss our opinions on the Star Wars movies and everything else involving Star Wars.
Sounds like a plan to me.
There's 37 of them, but we'll definitely not get through all of them. But I think we'll start through and then maybe continue the next time that we do this.
So there we go. That's a hard commitment to there being a next before we die.
There we go. It's got to be before we die.
80 years old in the deathbed, just rolling the stretcher down the hallway. The nurse like, all right, question 3.
We only get through 2 before we have to end it.
Yeah.
All right. So we will begin with the first question. Our favorite Star Wars character. And there's 2 questions. One is from like the canon, as in the movies and the new Disney stuff, and one is specifically from the expanded universe that is now considered the Legends after Disney took over.
I was just about to ask that.
Mm-hmm. So our favorite. Who was your favorite Star Wars character from the canon?
From canon?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, jeez. As a kid, it was always Anakin, but I was a really edgy kid, and I didn't have any problems with the scripting or anything like that at the time. Kylo Ren has grown on me a lot.
I agree.
Despite him being a very polarizing character. Oh, and who can forget the childhood crushes of Boba and Jango Fett?
Childhood was thinking Jango Fett was better, and then adulthood is realizing that Boba was better all along.
You know, I don't think I have a concrete answer to this. Do you?
Me neither. I was just kind of throw out a few names. I mean, can't go wrong with like Luke Skywalker. Obi-Wan Kenobi was one of the definitive Star Wars characters. I think I'd probably say Obi-Wan Kenobi. I think that's a good answer.
He was definitely outstanding throughout all movies, regardless of who was playing him.
Mm-hmm.
Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan was probably a monumental figure in shaping our sense of humor as it exists now.
Exactly. But would you have a more defining answer to the second question, which is favorite Star Wars character from the expanded universe?
You know, my first gut reaction was, yeah, definitely. I'd lean towards Jason Solo pretty immediately. But it opens up so much more than just that, because the expanded universe is where it gets into the Mandalorian culture that I know you and I are both a big fan of him. That's got
And of course, the Old
dozens
Republic.
upon dozens of names that just can't be ignored.
And then, of course, the Old Republic and all sorts of different eras that the new canon has just not yet explored.
Yeah. Picking a hard favorite out of such a massive pool is a daunting task, to say the least.
And these answers obviously don't have to be the most concrete in the world. It's just sort of a chance for us to discuss.
I would lean towards Jason as a gut reaction, and I think that's probably what pulls me towards Kylo Ren.
Uh-huh.
Is that I square him up to Jason Solo a lot.
And they're very different
Uh,
characters.
Fulfilling a similar role, I
Mm-hmm.
feel, is why it's fair to judge them on such a similar plane.
I agree. Absolutely.
It's very clear that Kylo Ren is supposed to be holding the same sort of weight that Jason did as the son of Han and Leia gone evil, but I feel like a lot of Disney's problems is they can't really compete with the EU characters in just 2 movies. That's at the most at generously 6 hours of footage compared to thousands upon thousands of pages of world building.
Well, I believe in as the trilogy comes to a close and the 3 movies are done, Disney right now has been holding off on in doing a lot of books in between the new movies or leading up to them or even, of course, after them. So I think after the movies end, we will see a flood of novels and games and things like that. That will continue to flesh out the movies, just as we have seen with the previous ones. So I believe
That
that,
would certainly be a welcome addition.
yeah, because right now the Disney canon is just it almost feels barren. But I feel like in a couple years there will be much more.
Yeah. Barren is a good word for it because there's also a lot of holes and inconsistencies from across the movies that people are picking up on really quick.
And
I
some
feel
that have been
calling The Last
sorry.
Jedi a quick cash grab or a cash cow, as a lot of people have, is it's not a fair statement. But I mean, it certainly has a lot of problems, to say the least. That I don't think it makes it a bad movie, but it definitely takes away from as good as it could have been.
I agree, and things that hopefully they will explain in the future.
Yeah, such as the Knights of Ren, one of the biggest things that people keep coming back to.
I think it's for sure that we'll see them in 9, and we'll probably get a good explanation as to where they've been. Hopefully, at least.
Absolutely.
All right, next question. Favorite original trilogy movie?
Original trilogy, Return of the Jedi, easy.
I'd have to agree with you as well. That's my favorite of the 3.
Um, Interestingly enough, I wasn't a huge fan of New Hope. I know a lot of people love it and revere it as the original, but I feel that even comparing it to the other movies, the original trilogy that came out in its time, it just doesn't hold up very well. The scripting was very awkward at a lot of times.
It almost feels
Dialogue
cheesy,
was
and I
it,
don't.
it was very
And
cheesy,
you can't use
and I
that
feel it's
word. I
fair
don't
to
think
judge
for
it
any
that
of the
way
other Star
because
Wars movies.
sorry.
You can't quite use that word for any of the other Star Wars movies. I think not even Menace.
Hmm. And I mean, for all the times the prequels get slammed for their dialogue choices or things like that, it's very prevalent in New Hope as well.
I think New
It
Hope had
suffers a
the
lot
yeah.
from things that it just gets free passes for no reason. I think, and when I say no reason, I mean a valid reason.
I agree.
Um, and Empire Strikes Back, I always thought was a good movie, and I always loved watching it, but it just never, it wasn't as fun as Return of the Jedi. I feel.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Return of the Jedi's ending, the last quarter of the movie was just phenomenal.
Yeah.
It really got you going and left you with a nice emotional high at the end of it. Whereas Empire is very similar to The Last Jedi, and it's much more somber.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that Empire might be the best made movie out of the trilogy, just in sort of like the script and the special effects and the structure and the plot and all that. But I think as a favorite, I think Return of the Jedi. The best parts are too good. That's yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Next question. Favorite prequel?
Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, I don't think this is a question for most any Star Wars fan.
That one's just, I think it might just objectively be the best of the prequels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like that movie. There's so much happens in it, and it does so many things and so many good things. All right.
Um,
Favorite sequel movie? I guess we'll include Rogue One in here since there's only been technically two sequels and only one anthology. So I suppose we'll include Rogue One.
so sequels here.
Hmm. So Force Awakens, Last Jedi, and Rogue One.
Oh, yes, I see. Um, Force Awakens probably.
Yeah, it's such
I don't know why I
a
said
fun
question.
ride.
Force
It
Awakens.
was a great introduction back into Star Wars, I think,
Definitely.
and it was a good way for them to prove that they could truly make a great Star Wars movie. Disney.
It was. I know it got accused of basically being a carbon copy of New Hope, but I felt it did New Hope a lot better than A New Hope did, for a lot of reasons.
Hmm.
It brought back the mystical element of the Force. It got to show us some very impressive displays of Force power. It had nice, good humor coming from multiple places. Lots of good characters, other than just a few.
Hmm.
It wasn't nearly as cheesy or cringy as a lot of the moments from the original were. And I feel like it was just a much more enjoyable experience. The atmosphere of Force Awakens was incredible. Easily the best of any Star Wars movie so far.
No, I agree. I absolutely agree.
This The only one that might compete with it, I feel, as far as atmosphere goes, would maybe it's kind of out of nowhere, but Attack of the Clones had a very good vibe to it for the first half of it, I'd say.
Yeah, it's sort
Where
of
there was
a mystery.
definitely, yeah, it was nice to see, the space and the galaxy, and Rogue One sort of touched on that. But Attack of the Clones, because they had the whole conspiracy of protecting Padme and such, there was a very, very nice air to it, especially Obi-Wan going to the diner, visiting Camino. Just lots of very cool things
Oh yeah.
like that didn't really show up anywhere else in the story.
Yep. 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 All right. Next question. Favorite Star Wars video game?
Jedi Academy, I would say.
I think yeah, I think Jedi Academy just did a lot of things just great, and it came together to make a very good Star Wars experience. That's what I would say.
Either that or Republic Commando.
I think Republic Commando, just the vibe that it gave off was like nothing else from Star Wars ever, before or since.
Yeah. Easily one of the defining games of our childhood, without a doubt.
Oh, absolutely. It's just a fantastic game in general, and we have a lot.
Battlefront 2, another great classic.
We have a lot we
The
could
original
mention here.
Battlefront 2, by the way.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we have a lot we could mention here, obviously, because there's a lot of great
That's a
Star Wars
big can of
games.
worms.
I mean, a lot that have been forgotten. We could do a whole episode on this, but I think we'll probably save this topic for another time. I believe. Move on to the next question before we have to end this.
All right.
Favorite lightsaber fight? Very very standard question.
Favorite lightsaber fight?
I suppose we can include just like lightsaber action scenes in general, sort of the like the Luke scene at the beginning of Return of the Jedi, the big Sarlacc pit battle, or
Yeah.
just like the battle of Geonosis, the arena, or even like the Last Jedi, the fight with the guards.
Fight with the Guards is the one that immediately comes to my mind because it's so unique, so unexpected.
And really great
Just that
choreography as
entire
well.
scene was so out of nowhere and in such a good way.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
Either that
the
or
whole relationship between Rey and Kylo Ren in that movie was just phenomenal.
favorite lightsaber battle, though, I think I might have to give it and say Yoda versus Sidious simultaneous with Obi-Wan and Anakin.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's fair to judge Yoda versus Sidious as its own sort of battle. I like to judge it alongside Anakin and Obi Wan as well, just because it was so
Because, I mean,
intentionally sort of mirrored
yeah,
the.
and it was simultaneous, them going back and forth, quite literally.
Hmm. And the I think the best part of the Yoda versus Sidious was when he was chucking the Senate seats at him. It's just the show of the Force, the two most powerful Force users.
Yeah, where it went from him throwing it to then Yoda catching it and putting a spin on it before throwing it
Yeah.
back. Stuff, which is very cool things like that. And the lightsaber fight itself was just visually stunning.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, moving on. Favorite space battle. We're mostly focusing on the movies in this list, obviously. But favorite space battle.
Turn of the Jedi.
Yeah, every time I see it, it's stunning. I would agree with you there. I think Return of the Jedi is the best one.
Yes.
It really feels
I
like a battle.
feel none of the other ones really compared to it in the sense of scale and emotional tension and just pure energy behind it.
I feel like Rogue One's Battle of Scarif got close. I think that would be the second best one in my opinion
Um,
because they both had a very similar. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just laughing. Phantom Menace, unfortunately, does not get a spot on this, just for
Mm,
how silly it was.
yeah,
Unfortunately,
I think Return of the sorry, Revenge of the Sith. The battle at the beginning was fantastic.
absolutely.
Another great show of
If there
ship
was
to
more
ship
focus
combat.
on the space battle itself, it would probably immediately take first spot for me. But
Hmm.
too much of it was inside one ship.
Yeah, what's nice about both Battle of Scarif and Rogue One and the Battle of Endor is that it focused on characters who you don't know, but you're cheering for. You know what I mean? You get in the pilot's seat, and they're calling out targets and they're asking for assistance, and you know what I mean? It's that kind of thing.
Porkins, pull up! I can make it.
I don't think A New Hope would take that spot on this list either.
There's nothing as grand in the entire anthology as Porkins just flailing in his seat.
As he explodes. Porkins was the true hero.
Man, if only he listen. I like how they actually put out a valid excuse as to why he didn't pull up and just ate it.
Yeah, it's really interesting actually. All right. Um, let's move on. Favorite ground battle, as in like um, no ships, just something happening more focused on the ground.
Ooh.
I mean, obviously, Star Wars is about wars. Otherwise, it wouldn't be in the name. So obviously, we're focusing on the action parts here in this.
Yeah. Um, Geonosis immediately comes to mind. Most of the three,
Yeah, three had just countless ground battles.
which was, I mean, it was very good for that movie. Hoth was incredible.
Oh yeah, the Battle of Hoth is phenomenal.
Um, Ewok, I don't think Ewok, yeah, Endor, I don't think was the best, but it was certainly not bad.
When you actually got into the nitty gritty of the ground battle, I thought it was very, very cool how it was just so frantic and stormtroopers and rebel troopers running around everywhere, desperately trying to take cover. Walkers going around. It was cool.
It was, yeah. Um, Last Jedi had a very good one at the end
Uh huh.
as well. I think where they replicated the Hoth.
I don't think it's
I feel
I don't think it's as good as the
definitely
as
not. It
Hoth.
loses points for a lot of reasons.
Hmm.
Rose being most of them.
I think
I can say a lot of criticisms on her character are very justified. She
mhm,
was an extremely frustrating character,
I completely
and her
agree.
a lot of her motivations were just not good.
The weakest part of the movie for sure.
It felt very pandering to like a social justice idea of like we can't hate, love has to be the answer. But I mean that hasn't really been a theme throughout the rest of Star Wars, and it certainly didn't make any sense here. I'm sure there might be another explanation for her actions there because it doesn't seem to have been a recurring theme. Felt like a very pandering character,
Hmm.
which I guess they tried to do to reduce the lashback from Poe and Finn not being gay for each other. At least in this film, unless they go back on that because people hated Rose so much.
Watch them just go back on it and nine. That'd be hilarious. Rose gets
God.
completely rejected.
I wasn't a big fan of her character, but if they introduced Rose solely to be such a horrible character that Finn Poe looks more appealing, then I'll clap because that's kind of clever, actually. I'll still be a little annoyed.
All right. The next question. Your favorite Yoda quote? That's a fun one.
Page turners, they were not.
That was a good one.
Just that was beautiful because it put Luke on the back burner from being the wise and mean old Jedi to all of a sudden he's young student Luke again getting flustered by Yoda.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a great scene in general. And then the big lesson he gave, like the greatest teacher failure is.
If so powerful you are, why leave?
Like, yeah, so many great Yoda quotes out there. Definitely such a memorable Star Wars character.
When 900 years old you reach, look as good you want.
All right, the next question, something a little more unique. Something you wish were different in the movies.
Jango Fett's death, instantly. Right there.
And what would you change?
I wouldn't even have minded him getting beheaded by Mace Windu. It was the idea that he just randomly got stampeded by that the really angry Triceratops, and it took out his jetpack. So then his first response to Jango, who had been alluded at this point to be a Jedi killer, who had beaten the hell out of Obi-Wan earlier in the film, and now his only response to Mace Windu, a Jedi Master, rushing him down, is to stand still and just point a gun at him and shoot it just like 6 times, and that's it. No movement, no flamethrower, no dart, no string, no missile, nothing. Just stand there and shoot.
I agree. I think that whole scene probably would have benefited from a short little action scene in the middle of the fight, where Mace Windu sort of goes toe to toe with Jango Fett. Because in the movies, you didn't really see Mace Windu get to do anything until Revenge of the Sith when he fought Palpatine. And Samuel L. Jackson wanted to do stuff.
Yeah.
So it would have been, I think, a nice little addition for a little action scene like that to occur. We get to see Jango Fett hold his own for a bit, and maybe have him be truly bested instead of just be an idiot.
Yeah, I would have loved to see an actual throwdown. But instead it was it basically felt like they just plot stomped Jango into the ground.
Yeah.
Which was, kind of annoying given how much they'd built him up and how cool he was and how he was responsible for the atmosphere for the first half of the movie. Him and
yeah.
Zam?
Zam. Yep.
I remember her name all of a sudden.
Zam Wessel.
Zam, right.
All right.
Zam. Vader's.
All right. Favorite member of the Rogue One crew?
Rogue One.
Like the crew of the ship.
I disliked most of the characters in that movie, so I'm going to go with the blind Force user.
Chirrut,
or
his
the
name was.
droid.
Oh, yeah, the droid was hilarious. K2.
So, I haven't actually seen Rogue One as much as the others because it doesn't hold up as well on repeat playthroughs, I think, if you don't like all the characters.
Mm-hmm.
What was the main guy's name? Cassian?
Well, yeah, the main, the male lead was Cassian.
Yeah. Right. That's what I said, main guy. Gal, I know, was Jan Orso.
Jan Urso, yeah.
She wasn't bad. Her chemistry with everyone was annoying. Cassian, I think that was his name.
Yeah, it was.
He was really annoying. The droid was the only one I truly cared about by the end of the movie, because you just said his name, the Force user. I can't.
Chirrut Enway.
Yeah, He was one of the few likable characters in the movie.
I really like the villain of that movie, director Krennic. I think he's
How
like my
could I
favorite.
forget Krennic? He was a legend.
Yeah, he was really good.
We stand here amidst my achievement, not yours.
Yeah, he is so quotable.
Oh, it made Darth Vader's pun acceptable just because Krennic was so fun.
Hmm.
Every line he said was a meme. It was straight out of the prequels.
All right, I'm gonna kind of skip around the list here because I know we're closing in on the end of this podcast. So I want to go to some of the more interesting ones, like favorite special edition change.
Best special edition change?
Yeah, something that you actually thought was a great choice, a good thing to change.
Ewok celebration music.
I think that's what I would say as well.
It's
Completely
the
agree.
only good one I can think of. Was adding in that little tribal happy song at the end, which apparently wasn't in the original. I have never seen a version of that movie without it, but I've heard that it was added in, so that's my gut reaction.
It's the original. It just doesn't have that same impact. I love how the music swells at the final shot of the whole crew just sitting together celebrating. You know that the music swells and then the movie ends and you're like that was perfect. But the original, it's just kind of like the Ewoks singing, and there's no build up. There's no big climactic end to the song. It just sort of happens. So yeah, that's I would say that as
Yeah.
well.
Most of the other ones I think were bad. Um, I can list off, I mean, hundreds of horrible changes that I don't know why George Lucas thought was a good idea. I feel like most of the special editions were basically cementing the fact that he was responsible for the holiday special and someone should have stopped him.
That's actually our next question. What is your least favorite special edition change? Which one do you think was absolutely the worst?
Um, Greedo shooting first was pretty awful.
Mm-hmm. Like people make such a big deal out of it that sometimes people forget how it is actually a pretty big deal, and just how poorly done it was.
Yeah, Han shooting first was important for his character at the time. He wasn't a good guy.
Yeah,
It looked really dumb.
yeah, like his head just like fucking like shifts to the side.
Yeah, it looked like someone took Photoshop and just superimposed his head slightly to the right,
Yeah,
and it all just looked really awful.
yes, it absolutely.
And it wasn't good for Han's character.
I agree.
That was awful. Um, another really good change was changing the language in the cockpit from English to Basic.
Yeah, I
I
agree. That's
forgot
such a minor one, but I've noticed that one as well.
that was actually good. I was thinking about that because of changing Boba Fett's voice to Tamara Morrison was pretty bad.
Absolutely, the original Boba Fett's voice that was so good. It fit very well with what the actor was actually doing on screen, whereas Tamara Morrison, it seems so superimposed on top.
It was like they just called him on the phone and they're like, "Hey Tamara, can we get you to read these off real quick?" And he's like, "Sure." Like, can you tell it as you wish? As you wish. Got it.
Got it. Got it. That's great. Um.
Oh, I believe we have visitors.
All right, then I believe we'll close the end podcast right here. We
All
actually
right.
got nearly 30 minutes in.
Unprecedented. We'll see how this turns out, and we might be back hopefully soon.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks for chatting with me, Sean, and see you all next time. Thank you for watching.
Bye bye.